Përshëndetje, zonja dhe zotërinj, jeni me televizionin Steni dhe kjo është Klik Plus. Sonte jemi bashkë me emisarin e Federatës Gjermane për Ballkanin, zotërin Manuel Saracin. Do të flasim në gjuhën angleze, po pastaj ju do të kuptoni. Mr. Saracin, welcome. Very great honor to have you again on our show. Great pleasure. How can we best understand? Let's talk about not too many people know exactly how is and what is exactly the role of an envoy of a specific country, like in this case, you're Germany, and how seriously we should take it when we have an envoy coming from a different country, very powerful European, the locomotive of the entire European Union. But nowadays, when you talk to your friends in Germany, not just in the Balkans, how do you explain what you do for a living?
What I do for a living?
Yes, this post of yours, the envoy.
I say I do my part to help the Western Balkan 6 coming closer to European Union.
Yeah, but when you talk to your friends German, and they are not involved in the politics, how do you explain them what you do? You go from one country to the other, talking about solving this.
So you think I still have friends who are not involved in politics?
Well, I assume that you definitely have friends.
You think I have, this is a positive, this is the first compliment you made ever to me in this show. Great.
And it's on TV.
It's on TV. No, I mean, the German government decided to put the priority on the Western Balkan 6, and they said, okay, we need somebody who is all the time going there and shaking hands, showing interest, being more close from the central into the situation and trying to bind loose ends together. And actually, I think we have shown this Berlin process last year, that this recommitment, the stronger engagement, this also spending my salary and of my team for trying to be supportive in the region helps, but only, of course, when we are working together with Team Germany and Team Europe and also Team Transatlantic Partnership. So it's never just one person, it's always...
Yeah, we are lucky to have you on our show, so we can, that's why we put it as the German envoy. How do we understand it? From this point of view, we have the Western Balkan 6, Albania, Montenegro, Macedonia, Bosnia, Kosovo, Serbia. Everyone wants to join the club, but who's doing its best and who is standing at the very bottom of the list? Well, it's difficult from your position, but it's interesting to know who's doing better.
Yes, I mean, you have the classical assessments of European Commission and the progress report.
The progress report.
Who would call some countries front runners. I think that in the moment we have a situation that some with the big war of Russia and Ukraine, also some other topics came up. For example, like CSFP alignment. So in the moment, I would not classify. I would not follow the classical classification of this. In this moment of time, we have a historic chance to get with Albania and North Macedonia, two countries on the road, on the run, who have huge potential for delivering, for putting a lot of pressure on the so-called front runners by delivering, because we believe in their path. And we had the achievement to unleash the steps of enlargement for both countries last year. But you also know that there is this constitutional change issue in the conditionality for North Macedonia. So to unleash all the potential of this country on the European path, and also to unleash pressure onto politicians in this country to deliver on reforms, rule of law, fight against corruption, we need to get this done. So ask me after it's positively done. Yeah? Also in other countries, I mean, like Montenegro, they had a difficult time finding government,
elections one after the other.
Yeah, so it's really a chance to deliver now. And then you have to look, for example, to Ukraine. Yeah, they start to deliver. I mean, of course, they're lacking behind, they're starting just, but yeah, I would say that, okay, perhaps Western Balkan 6 should be aware of that. It's a historical changing time. Let's use the time. Let's not be the last ones. Let's take our luck in their own hands and go. And I know that this question of constitutional amendment, you know, I know that it's not easy to explain, and
of course,
that it's not like people love to do it.
Hear about it, know about it.
But it's a precondition. It's part of the deal. And I know that believing European Union is not as strong as 5 years ago or 10 years ago in this country. But I still think you should trust in European Union. Not because this time and then you will be like feel faked again. No, because European Union is clearly the strategic option for this country, for this region, always has been, but with this war in Ukraine, it is clear where the path should be. Nobody can be an island in Europe anymore after Putin started this big war. So strategical wisdom, yeah? And it's difficult to expect it from the people in the country. I mean, would I say that always Germans have the biggest strategical wisdom in their political decisions? Of course, if you're in daily life business, you know you have your decisions. But I think it's the path. We have to go. We have to stick together. The European project is binding us together. Politically, our societies are already closely bound. But it doesn't make sense to have societies closely bound and politically like drifting apart.
Yes. We've been talking too much in the recent years about the influence of Russia in the Balkans. Now, as part of your duty, of your job as the envoy, do you face any such obstacles? Do you see them? Do you detect them? That Russia is playing behind the closed door because we don't have any Russian envoy, for instance. Nothing is behind. Nothing is in public. Nothing is in opinion.
There are some Russian envoys in the region.
Yes, there are. Please, can you name any?
I just forgot what I wanted to say.
Yes,
somehow,
that's being politically correct now. So how do you deal with such obstacles? How do you try to solve? Because solving them, if you've solved them, I would love definitely to know, not just me, but even the public opinion as to how we would best know how is it and how it looks like.
Have you ever watched Big Bang Theory?
Of course.
So you know Schrödinger's cat theory. Can you explain it to the people watching?
I ask questions. I can't do that.
So I believe with Russia and the Balkans, it's like with Schrödinger's cat.
Okay.
There is for sure Russia inside, and for sure you can prove it's inside, but nobody can say or especially prove how much. Mm-hmm. Is it a little, is it big or not? And sometimes some people like to say it's Russia when it's themselves.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly who I mean, might be some neighboring
yes.
states, politicians, but so we have to be aware and careful about Russia, but we should also have self-esteem, like who from the region is going, I mean, is there a Wizz Air flight from Skopje to Moscow, or did I came with a Wizz Air flight completely fully packed with people from Hamburg yesterday? Yeah, so where the people in North Macedonia...
There's a restriction for us, no one can come from Russia nowadays.
I know, but also before. Yeah, everybody knows you're Western Europeans. Okay, yes. You're Southeastern European. Some people call it Balkans. I would never call it like this, but Russia is not a strategic option for North Macedonia, even not for Serbia, given that they perhaps play more with it. No, we are the favorites. We are like Bayern Munich on the pitch. Of course, Bayern Munich can also lose matches, usually when they make their own mistakes. And you know, European Union sometimes makes a mistake. Yeah?
They never admit it, but they do make.
But we are still favorite on the pitch. Perhaps we are not the Bayern Munich of 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but we are still Bayern Munich in this. Okay, I'm not in favor of Bayern Munich, so I have to...
Yeah, you have to correct yourself. You have to correct yourself for the... So how do you deal with such issues when you have the... I mean, do you identify any Russian influence in Macedonia? Let's go state by state. You mentioned Serbia. We all know.
I mean,
no sanctions whatsoever. They didn't turn their back, if I may be politically correct, on Russia. You still have flights for Russia. They have still the petrol coming from Russia. Everything. They didn't cut off any tie, if I may say. You may correct me if I'm mistaken.
Usually,
Macedonia?
Usually Russia, usually the tactics already from Leninistic times was to search for given splits in societies, try to exploit them, try to radicalize one part of the society, and take over the radical part to have it even more radical. This is the old Leninistic theory on how to do a revolution. And I see that this is also tried in North Macedonia to be done, to split the society over questions where, of course, they can be also real. Second is that usually corruption is opening the door, not only to Russians, also to others. Yeah, so it's, if you can buy politicians or if you can buy state officials, it's more easy, of course, to do things. But the general outlook, I think, is to make trouble, not to create anything good, any perspective. Last time I was here, I was visiting a German company producing parts of cables for cars. And you know, like you go there, all the hall is very clear. It's not too loud because in Germany we have this restriction at work. It cannot be too loud. The right degrees of temperature in the hall. There's a doctor. There's a kindergarten. They even have an Oktoberfest. And then I say, okay, look, if you're in Serbia working for Lukoil at the gas station, what is your pay? Do you have Oktoberfest? So I think we are the favorite here. Yeah?
Okay.
European Union, Germany is still big. Yeah? And if we don't succeed with the European path of North Macedonia, it will be our common problem and mistake.
And fate as well.
And of course, Russia is trying to make us fail, but you know, they cannot stop us if we together
if we do know what we share the same goals. Apropos the constitutional changes, from your past visit to Skopje and the regions, what do you see? Has anything moved in the right direction? Let's put it that way. Do you see any signs? Because the only obstacle as of now is the famous 80 members of the parliament, which you need to change the constitution. As of now, you have the VMRO Diplomatie, the main opposition party, which is against. Have you seen any sign of hope, sir, that you can share with us publicly? And not assume that we don't want to assume.
No, well, listen, it's in the way that everybody knows what Germany is wishing and why.
True.
And we think that there's a European deal on the table, and this one has to be taken or to be decided against. Yeah? But there will be no other deal on the table. And it's not in the way we want North Macedonia to join and to come there. But it's not in the way that the preconditions given by European Union by 27 member states agreed with unanimous voting can be changed and changed and changed again easily. How many MPs are going to vote for what, it's not me to assess. But we are quite openly and frankly saying, okay, we are talking to everybody and trying to put our arguments why we think it's in the sake of European integration, of Germany and of North Macedonia to go this path. And it's not in the way that we threat or that we interfere, we just say, listen, we have some arguments, perhaps you want to join and hear it. And the argument is, we want to engage in this country. And I think stability and clarity about the course for North Macedonia towards the European Union is decisive for engagement, yeah? Especially in these times. And the second is, like, I think this country should not lose more time. This country lost already so much time, also because of us, yeah? Not only because of you.
It's good to hear, trust me.
But whoever lost this time was guilty for it, let's not lose much more time. We don't know how the world will look in 2 or 3 years. And I think this is a time shift where being clear on which side you stand is
right
there. We don't have any doubt so far where North Macedonia stands. The war in Ukraine, the answer of Macedonian politics was very clear on that. But if the...
You cannot bet that it's true.
If the path to our European Union somehow is incoming and it seems to be blocked for a specific time or, you know, it's crumbling, this is not a good signal. Yeah?
Let me be undiplomatic.
Have you ever been diplomatic?
No, actually I am sometimes with the questions, but this time I will be totally undiplomatic. Would you bet that Macedonia will change its constitution, it will make it? By the end of the year, as the deadline is, and it expires?
Well, I just yesterday had there was some
it was very honest
meme
and
internet
questions.
Like the woman says, I quit with you because you're addicted to gambling, and he says, I bet I can win you back. I think I should not bet.
You should not bet. Because you don't believe that Macedonia will make it, or because you don't want to talk about betting? You get two issues.
No, because I think that we have to respect every decision which will be taken in North Macedonia.
Very diplomatic.
And of course, I have a wish as a friend of North Macedonia. I'm convinced of what is the right decision, but it is not to me to raise the hand.
To say I'm sure that, and I can bet.
I was an MP in Germany, and sometimes we had to do decisions which are really difficult for us. And when then some guy from Embassy of North Macedonia comes to us and says, hey, Manuel, then I bet you're going to vote, I would have not been helpful. Yeah?
I get your point. Can you clarify one thing for the public opinion, please? We heard Mr. Mickoski talking a lot and very loudly that he's asked from the Western Europe to give them guarantees. He was talking so much about the guarantees, like if they vote, they will get in return. Have you ever been asked for any guarantees, sir, by Mr. Mickoski or whomever, or have you heard of any such guarantees? As to if we go on elections today, yesterday, the day after tomorrow, that once they come into power, which they prognose and they plan that they will definitely come into power, Vămărul după mâine, they will change it. Have you or have you not been asked any time for any guarantees whatsoever that you can explain what those guarantees mean?
But I can say that what he says publicly is quite equivalent to what he's saying to us also.
Okay. He asks you as well guarantees.
I would repeat what I said before.
Okay. Can you define what guarantees mean so that we know? What does it mean, guarantees?
No, I cannot define. I think what is important to say, not only Mickoski or other politicians.
He's the key player as of now.
Yeah, I know. He is a key player. But the point is that a lot of people in North Macedonia are afraid of that in this process, Macedonian identity, Macedonian culture, Macedonian language,
Yes.
the existence of Macedonian people
Yes. Very,
as
very
a concept
existence.
is under threat. And I can guarantee you and everybody in this country that for Germany, this is existing and important, and we respect it. We respect the Macedonian language. We respect the Macedonian identity. We respect the Macedonian culture. We respect the Macedonian people.
Yes.
We respect the country of North Macedonia. And this is what I can guarantee. And this I can publicly say. I don't have to say it behind closed doors to Mickoski or any other politician from SDSM, whatever party. For Germany, North Macedonia is
And will
true
remain
friends,
as such.
and we respect Macedonian culture, people, identity, and language.
Is this the attitude only of Germany or the entire EU bloc, sir? This is important, very important.
You have to ask the entire
but
EU bloc.
You're the biggest player in European Union. That's why
For
I'm
me,
asking.
it's clear that this is how European
Unequivocal
Union
answers,
functions.
Okay.
You know, my grandfather is coming from a part of Germany where there is an autochthone language, which has never been respected or accepted in Germany.
As a language, as a dialect.
But since in European Union developed this question of minority languages,
Minority.
actually in this point, it's in Frisian language is like supported. So I think it's the concept of European Union to accept differences and to recognize also languages of nations. Yeah? And I think that you have one European neighbor who has a different outlook on that. And we know that. And
Yes, of course, Bulgaria.
also, this position has to be like seen.
And accommodated.
I don't know if it can be accommodated or not, but the German position is clear. And we also tell it to our partners, to all other 26 partners in European Union, that we have this position.
The second issue that Vămărul is talking with the main opposition party, to be politically correct, is that we think that this parliament, this composition, this government is a total disaster. I would put it very diplomatically, total disaster, and that we should have snap elections so that the new members of the parliament, the new government, which is according to the Vămărul, the forthcoming one, is more legitimate, and they can deliver based on those guarantees. Would you in any way, shape or form support any snap elections if you would have a hint by Vămărul după mâine that yes, indeed, they will stick to what they've said on the table and that they will deliver?
About snap elections in North Macedonia, Macedonian politicians have to decide.
About it.
It's not me. I think we should not lose time, and I think this summer should be the moment of truth.
You have put it as a deadline before the end of the deadline, or you think that during the summer it should be all done? When
No,
you
I
say
think
it should be
that-
done, it should be tabled in the parliament because these are two different issues then.
I will be not more concrete. But I think we need a moment of truth.
We need to see the things coming to the parliament and then make it concrete and wait for the...
You have this complicated procedure in Macedonian parliament. You
unfortunately.
know it better than me. But I think that, swimming dry
Yes.
on this, we need to have some clarity about
Some water.
the path of this country regarding this question. And also that everybody is showing in the end where it stands. So we are now in the procedure with the drafting commission taking place.
Yes.
And then I assume that probably procedures will be taken.
And the moment of truth of voting. And then we will see how it all... Is there any chance that, hopefully, I pray to God that we will have a positive outcome and that we will have 80 MPs. Would that vote for them? If not, maybe 120. I would be more than happy to see all political parties sticking all together to define and to put their money into the words as to the European integration. Will the EU and you as Germany identify anyone who is working against this EU accession and make the deal happen? The constitutional changes, meaning that they will respect the deal that they had, the Macedonia has with Bulgaria, and they will deliver it by changing the constitution.
Well, I don't know exactly what you mean with identifying.
Well, identify meaning that you have a specific political party who has voted against the constitutional changes, and those constitutional changes, they will not make it, even if they get into the government after the elections next 2 years actually. Whomever in the parliament, that is why I'm asking. As of now, you have Vămăru and Levița, which is against. This is not a secret anymore. Will you by any chance define Vămăru or Levița as un-European if they vote against the constitutional changes?
I think that
this is not a threat, I'm asking very politely.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, in Germany, the concept is that you have public voting in parliament so that people can judge decisions of you, like the electorate can judge. Of course, like we would then say, like, okay, schade.
Yeah, schade, too bad.
I think it would be a very bad signal and also have for sure political consequences on the path to European Union, yeah, and not a trust-building measure, but it's not in the way that, I mean, electorate in North Macedonia has to decide about the representatives, and they have to decide about the sake of the country.
For the sake of the country, as to whom they will vote for. I'm asking this because after you met with Mr. Michalski, and Mr. Michalski, after meeting you, he issued a press statement saying that he talked with you and expressed his concern about the actual governance of SDSM and BDI, and that he mentioned a high level of crime and corruption, and especially that he talked a lot about these multi-million, as of now it's a conspiracy theory that they will steal everything from the Corridor 8 and 10D. And we hear a lot, but we don't see anything concrete, and we see it, some of us, not all the media, see it as a spin. Because we're not talking about the real issues that we have, the constitutional changes and problems with EU accession, but we're talking about issues which haven't started yet. And we're talking about big corruption affairs without having anything in it in mind. How do you see those two compliance?
Well, so what I can say is that it's clear that you have this procedure in Parliament where you give kind of shortcut or fast-track procedure with the kind of European flag,
the biggest deal.
I think that it's good, but of course, if you do fast tracks in Parliament, you always also have to have a good formal ground for it.
Okay.
And what I heard from Mr. Michalski and Vimro is that like they doubt that for this specific law, this formal ground is existing well enough for this fast track procedure. So we came back to the European delegation, and our impression is that they have some questions on this. And I think that, okay, this question should be released. It's clear that fast track should be done for things which are helpful for alignment with the acquis and coming forward towards European Union. But, you know, well, I haven't been able yet to read out the concrete draft law to have an own measure if this is right or wrong.
How they did in a parliament.
But I think the point in general, European flag should be clear for procedures which are sensible for European integration and alignment with acquis. I think this is undisputed in this country by all sides.
But is it disputable as a fact or as a statement that they bring up to the German envoy when they are sitting in a multi-million building, as the Vămăru is, although it's seized by the court, we know that too. Do they ever talk about it, for instance? You know, it's like, do what I say, but don't do what I do. Is that the situation with Vămăru or not, as you see it?
Well, I'm not commenting about our talks, I was just commenting the press release. Yes. So,
but this was more concrete, the issue.
You have to ask them about, I don't have any personal information about the concrete financing structures of the party.
Of the party, yeah. The
headquarter.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because this is what we comment on the media. We're talking about issues of corruption when we have cases which are the entire property of Vămăru has been seized due to alleged corruption and everything by the court. not by politicians, by the court. And nowadays we hear corruption case, but we see nothing. And we have the constitutional change, which is the main issue on the top of the top priorities for European Union and from some of the medias, but we don't see it delivered. So you have anything new from them at all, or nothing at all? They haven't moved from their position.
I would say fight against corruption.
It's very important.
Strengthening of
it's very important.
rule of law.
Don't get me wrong, sir. Absolutely more important than anything else. But that's
whatever party interest is behind.
Whatever party's
and
interest.
I know that this is not easy sometimes, and
it takes
not
political
overnight.
will.
It's just happening, of course.
Yeah, it takes
and
political will.
it's not only in North Macedonia the case. Even not only in Western Balkans, by the way.
Yeah, because they called it, the corridor, they called it a historical crime. No, it's a very strong sentence when you hear it in public, in Macedonia especially. This is a historical crime. No one has ever done anything like that. That you don't want to comment on because you didn't see the laws, even with the flags and everything. It was all in the press communique, don't forget it. It was all press communique from Mr. Mickoski Vimro to tell us exactly about who and what. Western Balkan 6, after Macedonia, that we talked the biggest part of it. We have Albania, the elections yesterday. Most of the people comment that Mr. Erdogan should look at Mr. Edi Rama, how to win the best elections in Albania, because the entire map of the municipalities Albania has been painted in pink. Only 5 or 6 small municipalities has been left. Your comments, sir, on the elections?
Well,
very happy.
No, I mean, the outcome of the elections is giving a relatively clear picture.
Yes.
And I think...
Democratically, how do you see it, sir?
Well, on the first hand, we hope that with Albania being now in the process of negotiations with the European Union,
and the front runners,
like one of the runners, yeah, we hope that we will be able to get reforms done going forward and showing also good examples to the region by doing positive steps. So we want to engage with Albanian government and parliament on that. But I also think that there's a huge willingness and political will and also empathy to this European project.
Yes.
In the country. I was an opposition MP for 13 years in German parliament. As an MP, I was always in opposition. I had the feeling that sometimes having a capable, strong opposition was also helpful for government not to making too many mistakes.
Yes.
And I think
that's the principle.
I think also in Albania, the work between opposition and government for the common aim, European Union, with necessary criticism and control by opposition to whoever is in government, has to be also strengthened again. And this infight in the opposition is, of course, also difficult for the country to a certain extent. But sometimes it happens, of course, and it's not in a way that we can change this from Germany. And we are anyway hopeful that with the country as a whole, we can get some positive procedures and progress in the next months.
Yeah, because from Skopje, we were always kind of afraid that we might be split with Albania, because with the war with Bulgaria as the main obstacle. Is it possible that the two might be split by the end of the year?
Well, I mean...
the hope is that they won't.
I mean, constitutional changes on the table.
Yes.
And a good answer from Skopje on that will be an answer to a lot of other questions. Not, of course, to all. Yeah, it's never like, it's the beginning of the process, of course, but...
As part of your work, the Kosovo-Serbia dialogue, we have too much going on. We have the new proposal for the association. The Prime Minister of Kosovo has presented the Croatian model, as we call it nowadays. Sorry for again being very blank. And these draft proposals that come, where do they lead as of you, sir? And which one is actually the one that can make it happen?
Well, I can never say...
both of them.
Yes.
You know, the Franco-German, yours, and the French proposal. Then we have now the Croatian model.
My assessment is that I cannot say which proposal will lead where. I can tell you what I want. And I want that both sides engage so constructively in the dialogue that we get steps towards an ASMM being established on the ground. And this should be accompanied by implementation of Ohrid from both sides. Yeah? So usually one side would say, but they didn't deliver, so I don't deliver. And my approach in
but
this
process... But this is exactly what's going on since 2009.
And my approach in this process is that I delivered, so now you deliver. And I know that this sounds not like being Balkans,
yes,
but I think this is the only right way to make Ohrid really being a success, that both sides are showing now that they're sticking to the text and implementation of Ohrid. And you can say, okay, the statements by Mr. Vučić publicly look like he's not willing to do so. I understand this, but it's not excusing your own commitment. Yeah?
Your own whose?
No, the Kosovo side has to show the commitment anyway. Although I can understand that Serbian side is giving them public reasons to not believe in. But the best pressure on Serbia is to be clear with the commitment from Kosovo, even if press statements from Mr. Vučić seem to be not so convincing to them. Yeah? The ASMM is not a courtesy to Belgrade. It should be done in a way that it's good for Kosovo and Kosovo Serbs. And perhaps it's a courtesy, for functioning of the state, of the nation of Kosovo.
The nation as such. Because you heard it exactly, that the Kosovos did say that they want a dialogue which is based on the constitution of Kosovo according to its laws, and that it doesn't really do much more building a third level of administration, as there was during the 2006 talks with President Mati Ahtisaari. So they really want to keep that line that no one feels, and there's no ambiguity, that Serbia may interpret it as it wants and Kosovo may interpret it as it wants. That no, this is not a third power. Yes, this is a new Republika Srpska in Kosovo. Have you ever thought of having a referee so that we can listen to the referee what he refers, instead of having to both parties, which everyone claims its own? Very honest. The biggest problem for us is the media, because we can interpret it the way, depending on which country we work and live, and depending on our nationality. We have two sides and everyone is right.
It's a EU-facilitated process.
Yes, I know, it's EU facilitated.
So you have to
but
ask...
is Mr. Lajčák, is he the referee?
No, he's a
should be the
facilitator.
Isn't it useful for all of you, and especially us which live in those countries, to know who has done what and who didn't do anything? Because it is.
I would avoid answering your question by saying the Kosovo position you described right.
Yes.
I perceive it the same now. 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
Totally different picture. Tensions, no.
Even if it looks
tanks
like,
at the border,
even if it looks like we are back into this difficult situation of both sides accuse each other, Kosovo moved on the association.
Yes.
The Kosovo government and president accept that there will be
association.
Okay. You can say that it was already in the treaty signed in 13 and 15, which is also right. So,
yeah, true.
But anyway, the political commitment of the leadership, political leadership in Pristina, actual one, is better now. We still need more. Yeah?
When you say better, though, making compromises or what?
Well, I think that...
I want to understand it properly.
I hope that the approach has positively changed to, we have to solve this, because it's blocking our country, it's blocking the region, and the strategic outlook must be we get a good way of having a neighborhood with Serbia.
Of course, good neighborly relationship. Bosnia, Herzegovina, how is it doing on its EU accession, sir?
Well, we have now the government and the federation in place. Everybody knows how it has been managed.
Yes.
But I mean, okay.
Yes.
At least
that hurts a lot, you know.
No, I mean, like, you know how it's commented or not, and I think it's clear that Christian Schmidt had this decision in his capacity, and he had this decision in, of course, coordination and cooperation with us, but he is fulfilling his mandate on his own, his own capacity, and we are hopeful that this will help in making the country functionable. And for this, we now need both governments especially the one on
People
federation level, but also on the entire state level, delivering on reforms. At least first some low-hanging fruits, then some higher hanging fruits, and then the big fruits, but start getting working and showing progress in concrete terms. And Commissioner Vahe is engaged in that, but also I think member states are engaged. And yeah, so I hope that we will get now on the track. And even the people who perhaps are critical to the decision which made this government of the federation being elected, will, I think, accept when it's bringing positive, concrete results.
Results on the table.
On the other hand, of course, when you see the rhetorics of Mr. Dodik,
yes.
and also the planned laws in the IS on NGO law and on criminal code, this is really sorrowing, and it's actually totally opposite of a path towards European Union. And I think we have to be aware of that also. Yeah.
Montenegro?
They will have parliament elections in a few days, actually, from today.
They just finished the presidential ones.
And then we will
Clear
see.
message as of you from the president on EU accessions, no turning back on the history, changing whatsoever.
I think, yes, this was a clear message.
But because during the elections it was different language. Now after the elections and after being elected and opposed.
Yes, yeah. But on the other hand, it's also like, what other message?
That did he?
I mean, imagine there would be opposite message. Yeah, so it's also a realistic message. This is perhaps the right way to say. But I think also there was a clear message of the election result.
Yes, indeed.
And everybody should be aware of that. Sometimes you cannot read election results, but sometimes you can easily read what the people want. And I think this was in Montenegro given, at least for the presidential election.
Mm-hmm. Since the day one when you took your post and your duty to day present, has the Balkan moved forward, or it's still on the same spot? Specifically, you talked about some countries, Kosovo, Chile, Serbia.
I think that this summer will be decisive for that. And some people underestimate how important for the conviction in the region that the region can proceed to European Union is also the decision of North Macedonia. Sometimes you seem to be like the country somehow especially advanced, yeah, but never seen as the core problem. Sometimes like the potential tiger. But I think if North Macedonia in the summer is not bringing the conviction of, okay, we're going to do this, even if it's so tough, and even if we're not really convinced of it, because we believe European Union is the right path, almost whatever it takes, I think negatively it can have some negative circumstances.
Can you be more specific?
Positively, it can have really positive circumstances. Everybody will see, okay, listen, the path of the region to European Union is clearly outlined. Yeah? Yes. Might be long, but it's clear.
Yes. Yeah? Don't get me wrong. Can you be more specific as to if it doesn't succeed? Because we hear our politicians. I'm going to say local politicians. We hear our politicians, members of the parliament, prime minister, opposition, everyone saying, not opposition, those who are in a government coalition saying, we might end up losing 10 years to get again to this point. To get to this point when you have a clear deadline as to in 3, actually 5, 6 months ahead, we have to deliver it. You said that we have to show our willingness and our results at the parliament during the summer, which is extremely important. But what if? You don't want to bet, you don't want to talk about the guarantees. I fully understand, but just...
You cannot know before. Also in private life, sometimes in the way you make one mistake and...
Yeah, but we hear a politician saying we might lose another decade. That's a lot. For me, I'll be 54 in 10 years. My kids will be 20 plus. That's a lot of time to lose for my own children and everyone's children in Macedonia.
I think it's not, you cannot say that there's a clear scientifically researched forecast how long a negative decision on constitutional change would delay the process. Yeah. My private opinion is that it would be a midterm blockade, but of course it would be still in the hands of Macedonian politics what to do. But listen, you know, sometimes when you cross one time a Rubicon, it is 2, 3, or even 5 times more hard to get back, especially in politics. And you saw it, for example, you're living in Pristina. In some countries 15 years ago decided not to recognize Kosovo for whatever reason, sometimes perhaps internal political reasons, nothing to do with international law, blah, blah, blah. And you see now how difficult it is to change that decision. And, you know, although it's perhaps even not Kosovo the most relevant political topic in the specific country.
Specific countries.
But you cross the line and then it's difficult to take it back. And I'm afraid of that. Yeah, and I think it doesn't make sense to like threat with, okay, if you don't do it. No, but de facto, it will be difficult for the country to prove also to us we now want to come back.
I understand.
Yeah? It will be not like taking back the membership application,
Yes.
but like when should the European Union then believe again in the faith? And still, if this decision should be reverted, you would have to deliver the same.
The same result.
The same. It's not like with Ireland with the Lisbon Treaty, because you're not a member yet.
Yeah, I can understand.
Yeah? There will not be a big convention and then we will say, okay, we make one bad deal only to accommodate North Macedonia. No, we love you, we want you to be in, but you want to be in.
You have to do it and you have to work on. Very last question. Exactly, because you mentioned the Kosovo-Serbia case and the 5 non-recognizers, Slovakia, Romania, Greece, Cyprus, and Spain as the main ones. Is it right that we hear our politicians in Kosovo right when they say that yes, the 5 non-recognized will recognize Kosovo once we make the association, getting full agreement of normalization with Serbia? Is that really the outcome that will come?
You have to
or it will depend on Kosovo?
You have to ask it to the representatives of the
Lajčák.
non-recognizers.
To the 5 states. So is it not on the table, assumption that Kosovo will benefit?
I'm
not sure about
I'm a German government official. I cannot comment.
Understand. Danke sehr, Herr Sazam. Thank you very much, sir. Really much appreciated.
Faleminderit.
Respect. Faleminderit shumë. Zona e zotëri, emisari i posaçëm i Federatës të Gjermanisë në Ballkanin tonë, në 6 shtete për të cilat folëm për secilin veçanërisht dhe në veçanti për Maqedoninë. Faleminderit shumë për vëmendjen dhe mirëmbajtjen. Danke sehr.